If you suspect that the US government is lying to you about the true nature and purpose of its activities in the Middle East and throughout the world, you are not alone. Geopolitical expert and investigative journalist Jake Morphonios will guide you through the labyrinth of mainstream media lies and government gaslighting. Sit back and get ready to learn. This is the Blackstone Intelligence Network.
Welcome to the Blackstone Intelligence Report. I'm Jake Blackstone. You want to know what led to the downfall of Jeff Epstein? It wasn't some big operation that started the dominoes tumbling. It was a schoolyard fight between a couple of high school girls. They were scrapping over a boy named Joe. I shared this story as part of a multi-hour live stream recently, but a lot of viewers asked that I upload this information as a standalone episode. So several years back, I dug into the story of Epstein. This is long before the corporate media started talking about the guy. This is before it became fashionable to bash Donald Trump over his connections to this sex predator. This was back when Blackstone Intel's investigative focus was on child sex trafficking networks, particularly a network that was based in North Hollywood that we helped to bust up. That group was recruiting young women with promises of international modeling opportunities. They were sending them off into Eastern Europe. So that work introduced me to the old Epstein case. What I did was I pulled all the primary records that I could find from that Palm Beach investigation, starting with the local police investigation reports, those at least that were publicly accessible. I obtained the probable cause affidavit, which was brimming with information, pulled some court records. Later, this would have been, I guess, in late 2016, author James Patterson and John Connolly, Tim Malloy, they put out a book called Filthy Rich that fleshed out more details on this case. And also over time, I reached out to some of the people who had firsthand familiarity with the case, and that included the now late Virginia Roberts. So what I'm going to do is share with you today a little bit of the story of how everything started to unravel for Jeff Epstein. The main character in today's story is a teenage victim whose real name has never been released publicly, so I'm just going to refer to her by the pseudonym Mary. Going back to March 15th, 2005, a Palm Beach police officer named Michelle Pagan gets assigned what is a routine, simple case, but a case that would soon explode into something much, much bigger. It all started when they got report of a high school fight about 30 minutes away. There was this 14-year-old Hispanic girl named Mary. She got into a pissing match with another girl who had been making moves on Mary's boyfriend, a guy named Joe. They start throwing insults back and forth at each other, calling each other whores. The next thing you know, Mary's got hold of the girl's hair. They have an all-out cat fight. All the kids in the school are surrounding them. Fight, fight, fight. Next thing you know, Mary is sitting in the principal's office. Principal tries to get her to talk. She won't. She's tight-lipped. Among the things that Mary is refusing to talk about is why she is carrying $300 in $20 bills in her wallet. Now, this was in Florida. Drug dealing was fairly common, and that's what the school assumed, so they called Mary's parents to ask her if she was involved with drugs, drug dealing. Her dad says, no way, she's not doing drugs, she's not selling drugs. So the school brings in a psychologist to talk to her. The psychologist gets Mary to open up. Mary tells her that she got the money from a powerful man who lived in a mansion over in Palm Beach. Now, why this man was paying her was not something that Mary was going to tell them. So the school recommended that Mary be transferred to a facility for troubled kids, and they called the police. Now, here we go with Officer Michelle Pagan. She gets involved, doesn't know what's going on yet, has no idea this has anything to do with sex trafficking. She calls Mary's parents, asks them to come in and talk. So they do. Again, her parents say, listen, she's a good girl. This fight makes no sense. The odds are absolutely zero that she's involved with drug dealing. Nothing for the police to be concerned about. Officer Pagan has never handled any big cases before. She's pretty young, fairly new on the job. There are actually officers, they're whispering around the office between the detectives that There could be something big here. This might be a bigger thing, and Officer Pagan probably isn't the right one to be handling the case. She might botch it. But she's like, no, I'm going to handle this anyway. I'm not going to step aside. So Pagan interviews Mary twice. Finally, Mary opens up about the source of the money. So there's this guy. He paid her cash for what had originally supposed to have been a massage, basic massage. Now, let me read the police transcript. These are Mary's own words as she described it. She said, quote, "This white-haired guy came into the room wearing only a towel around his waist. He took off the towel, and then he was all naked. He laid down on a massage table. He was a really built guy, but his wee-wee was very tiny." Now, those are Mary's words. She said that Epstein had a tiny wee-wee. She actually, I don't think she knew his name at the time. Now, as she tells this story, she says that the guy spoke to her in a very firm, commanding voice, ordered her to remove her pants. Mary does this. Actually, we'll find out later that she knew this was coming. She takes off her pants. She's wearing only a G-string. She obeys his instructions. He's down on his belly. She gets on his back so that her exposed butt cheeks are touching his. But then he turns over and starts to masturbate as she massages him. Then he pulls out a purple vibrator and he starts to massage it on her private parts. And he does this until he ejaculates, according to Mary. What she said is that he then took a towel, wiped himself off, got off the table, got $300 in cash and gave it to her. She got dressed, went downstairs, got in a truck with a girl named Wendy, and she went home. So that is the $300 cash that she had in her wallet that was discovered when she got into this cat fight with the girl at school. Now, that is how all of this started, a high school fight. There's a lot more to the story of Mary, and I'll share that with you because it helps us to understand how Jeff Epstein was acquiring these girls. I want you to see the inner workings of a child trafficking operation so that you can be on the lookout for these kinds of things yourself. Protect your own kids, maybe children that you know. Child sex trafficking is a bigger problem than people realize, and that's why it's been a big focus of my work over the years, all the way back to when I was in Thailand years ago. So, 14-year-old Mary, she's got a boyfriend named Joe. Mary's father, who was a Cuban immigrant, he liked Joe just fine. But he didn't really like Joe's cousin. This is a girl named Wendy Dobbs. And Mary's dad has got a reason that he's not fond of Wendy. Basically, she's 18 years old. She's trouble. She's making money by recruiting girls for Epstein. So one day, Wendy had been hanging out with Mary, mentioned to her, hey, you can make some easy cash. And Wendy was very straightforward. She said, look, there's this rich guy. He'll pay you $200 an hour for a massage. But if you want to make some extra money, there's ways to do it. First of all, when you do this massage, you have to do it in your underwear. But you can make more than the $200 depending on what you would do for this guy. If you get physical with him, for example, if you straddle him during the massage, if you let him fondle you, he'll pay you more. If you have all-out sex with him, you'll get even more money. Well, during that first visit, Mary wasn't ready for the full-on sexual encounter, but she did anticipate making a little more money. She took off her clothes, and that's why she was only wearing the G-string under her white jeans. So Mary had lied to her boyfriend Joe about this. He knew she was going to go do something. But what she told him was that she's getting paid to do just a foot rub, that there was some older guy, and that's what it was. And that's the most that she or Wendy would tell Joe. In February of 2005, Wendy picked Mary up in her truck. They drove over to Epstein's Palm Beach mansion. This is a place I visited years ago on 358 El Brillo Way. It's exactly 1 mile from Mar-a-Lago. When they get to the mansion, Wendy goes up to a security guard, say, hey, we're here to see Jeff. Guard leads them into the kitchen through a side door. So they enter the kitchen. Mary sees this middle-aged man described him as having silver hair, a long face. He was 52 years old at that point, which was 38 years older than Mary. And standing behind Epstein in the kitchen is a young woman. She's pretty tall, very pretty, blonde-haired woman. I'll tell you more about Sarah and the work that she did for Epstein later on in maybe a different episode. But for now, all you need to know is that Sarah essentially was working as the hostess at Epstein's Palm Beach home. She would take the girls upstairs to the massage room and bring them back down when it was all over. Now, after Epstein has had a few moments to look Mary over in the kitchen, make sure she's up to his standards, and by standards I mean she's young enough, he nods, gives approval for Sarah to take Mary upstairs. They go up this winding staircase that's covered in pink carpet, go down a hallway. Mary sees that there are photographs all over the walls, photos of naked women. Many of them look as young as she did. So Sarah takes Mary to a room, has a massage table in the middle of it. Up against the wall is a wooden table with sex toys on it. Against another wall, there's a sofa, green and pink sofa. And beyond there, you've got a door on the other side of the sofa that leads into a large bathroom. Mary's up there. You've got the smell of lavender oil filling the air. Pictures of girls all over the walls. Mary told the cops that one of the pictures was especially shocking because the girl looked a lot younger than she was, and she was 14. So while she's standing there looking at these pictures, she hears somebody come into the room behind her, and she turns around. There's Jeff Epstein. He's wearing nothing but a towel. And you know how the rest of the visit went. I described that earlier. So Mary ends up getting help before she can go back to this second scheduled visit. She had already arranged a second visit with Epstein. Most likely there was going to be more involved than the molestation that had already happened. But the reason that appointment didn't happen is Epstein left. He went to spend some time down in his retreat in the U.S. Virgin Islands on Little St. James. But this guy Epstein, from all the reports that came in, a picture was formed. He was voracious. I can talk about it in different episodes later on, but Epstein cycled through these young girls on almost an industrial scale. He was having sex with girls 3 times a day. And that's why he needed Sarah to run things at the Palm Beach house for him. There was just so many people, so many schedules. He needed somebody to take care of this. Well, in an almost uncanny coincidence, just a few days after Mary told her story to Officer Pagan, another child victim ended up at the police station. Her story is actually even more tragic than Mary's. I'm going to save that story for next time, but for now, if you'd like a transcript of today's show, subscribe to the Blackstone Intel report on Substack. The address is blackstoneintel.substack.com. I publish some of the most densely packed informational reports that you'll find, full of my sources, my links to places where I get information, so you can verify, fact check me if you want to. I cover everything from the plight of the Palestinians living under the oppressive boot of Israel to stories of intelligence operations like the CIA using San Francisco prostitutes to dose unsuspecting victims with LSD to see if they could control these men with mind control. The cost for the Substack subscription is just $5 a month, but you can also join my Substack mailing list for free to get various updates on the work of my company, Blackstone Intelligence. Again, that's blackstoneintel.substack.com. One last thing, if you enjoyed today's information, please take a second, click the share button so you can post this to one of your social media links, help me get some exposure. I appreciate it so much. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.
Сергей Лавров отметил в интервью, что именно чинуши препятствуют этому.
Могло стоять ЦРУ. Ясно, что он заранее знал об этих атаках. 11 сентября. У меня есть страхового договора. Как только торговый этажный небоскреб, здание номер
This is
7
classic psychological warfare.
Джейк Morphonios, основатель Blackstone Intelligence, управляет глобальной сетью человеческого интеллекта. Morphonios ищет из-за его опыта в ближневосточных делах, в том числе связи между ЦРУ и террористическими группами.
Расстрел в Лас-Вегасе стал самым массовым убийством в истории США.
Возможно, лас-вегасский стрелок Стивен Пэддок
Почтенному, обеспеченному господину
В докладе ЦРУ, опубликованном следователем Джейком Morphonios'ом, были обнаружены секретные операции по запуску бомбы.